I still go home probably far more than I probably need to now to see my
Right.
family. And it's only type
Nice.
of place I feel truly at home is with them. And I
Wow.
did the same sort of thing of, I would go and sleep around or, well, try to, I would go and do stuff because it was what was expected of me or what other people were doing to fit in, like go to the pub. And I would hate it, thinking, what the hell am I doing sitting here every
Right.
weekend? But I would buy tickets for a festival, looking forward to it because in my head it's going to be amazing.
Right.
Never enjoyed them while I was there. All these stupid
Mhm.
things. And now I know there'll be so many people sitting there going, okay, I do that, I do that. Oh, shit. And you're kind of opening them up with these
Right.
kind of prompts. What is that? Do you find people would rather blame other people though? That, oh, that's just my
Mhm.
mother's fault. That's my
Right.
girlfriend's fault because she knows the buttons to press. Why do we live in this level of pain before we get? Because we always get people who change when it's really bad. That tipping point
Mm.
where they have to change.
Right.
Why would we rather live in pain, self sabotage, kick off, break up relationships? Why do you think people would do that? Blame others rather than just stop and go, I'm gonna look at what's causing this. Why do we enjoy pain? We almost look for it in a way.
Because at the end of the day, all of these things that you just talked about, they ensure that we don't have to change, right? And I told you the
Mm.
brain hates change. In fact, it burns more calories for the brain to learn something new than for you to do what you knew old, like, what you've been doing for so long, to do it like for how many ever more years. And so, because that's our principle, we also lock into this identity. Earlier, you asked, like, why do some people say, this is me and that's who I am? Because that's what they've understood for so long, and it's easiest not to change. It's why a lot of us play the victim, where we're like, oh, somebody else did this to me, they hurt me. Even in the story I'm telling, talking about, the inner child work, it's not my mother's fault that I ended up however I did with my wounds. She did what she did with what she had, and she could just function out of who she was. Now, in the acceptance for me that she did her best, I can recognize, okay, so what do I do now? Because if I'm not
Mhm.
going to do that, I'm going to continuously blame her for not going the whole way, not giving me everything. And I'll say, it's your fault, I'm fucked up. But then at the same time, I'm not having the life that I want either. So if I want to have the life that I want, I have to accept how it is I'm showing up. That's the part most of us don't want. Because if I accept what's going on in my life, then what do you think I have next? The challenge of, do I want to change it or not? Right. And if I don't change it, then I live with that shame. And if I do change it, it's going to be so hard. I'm going to lose the friends I had because most of them loved the way I existed. You talked about going to the pub, like every Saturday, even though you didn't like it. I'm sure in some sense, there were a whole bunch of people, maybe they were similar, going through similar wounds, or they just identified as being there. There was some sense of familiarity being there. Now, if you wanted to evolve and change and you said, I'm going to take a break from drinking, I'm going to work on something else, suddenly you find yourself alone. And that loneliness can be scary. Getting out of a relationship that really causes you trauma, you face the fear of being alone. Moving past a group of bullies that were a part of, because you can maybe, project your own wounds onto somebody else, bully someone else, and feel more superior. Leaving that group at the start, again, you feel alone. And those things are very fearful for us as human beings. So, what's easier is for us to blame somebody else. What's easier is for us to take out our own problems onto someone else, make it look like they're the ones who are really messed up so that I don't have to change. That's the baseline. But here's something, and that's why, Ian, if you look at the top echelon of society, and I'm not even talking about financially, I'm talking about the people with really successful relationships in today's world. I'm talking about the people who are really happy with themselves, the people who are also doing well financially. Why is it such a minority? Why isn't it not everybody, right? It's because these are the small groups of people who are willing to say that this change is fucking uncomfortable, but I'm willing to do it. And they push themselves, they challenge themselves, they give them safety to it. Maybe they ask for help doing it. They stay committed to that process, because once they get over that hill, then their lives seem so much more defined, so much more understood, so much more healthy, so much more peaceful.